Wasn't with us. We should have asked him.
Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of UFO Undercover. Like Natasha says, I am your host, Joe Montaldo. I hope everyone's having a great evening, great morning, great afternoon, wherever you are on our beautiful blue planet. You know, God, I say this every week. This is one of my favorite places to be. There's no other place I'd want to be on Wednesday night than right here. We have a nice, huge audience. We go out basically to almost 150 countries. There's only 193, so we're not that far from reaching all of them. And actually, some of the countries we go out to are quite surprising. Like, we do have an audience in North Korea. China is third on our listening list and has been for a full year now. So it's not just the free world listening to us. It's nice to see that. Tonight we have an interesting panel of guests on, all of which y'all should be familiar with. Now, anybody who listens to this show should be familiar. Shame on you if you're not, is all I can say. Paola Harris has been in the field as I have been and is well known as anybody in the field, probably better than most. She's just been contributing for quite some time. And we're going to get into that. I'm only going to talk a little bit about herself. But also, most of y'all should be familiar with Lisa Romanek. Now, I know a lot of people say Lisa Romanek's Stan's wife, but I think we're going to see that change over the next year or two. You got to be assertive, Lisa. You got to say, hey, I am Stan's wife, but I'm Lisa too. You can't put up with this BS. And also Dr. Carol Roslyn, who's been on the show just about 4 months ago, I believe, which was an excellent interview, by the way, Carol. I enjoyed it immensely. We're bringing them on to talk about the 2012 UFO Symposium. Also, we'll probably get into some other things, because y'all know I can never behave myself, but still. I've really been looking forward to hearing about this. I know most all the speakers here. I think there's only one person I haven't met personally there. Actually two. And so I'd be interested in, and since it's in Glen Rose, I will try to be up there this year, because it's only about a 9-hour drive from where I live. But I guess we'll start, I'll tell you what, let's start with Lisa. Lisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of start from there.
Well, as you said, I am Stan's wife, and I do plan to change that. He'll be Lisa's husband, but I'm I just wrote my first book, From My Side of the Bed, talking about what it's like to be the spouse of an abductee. I'm from Nebraska. Yay, Huskers. And just ask me some questions.
Well, actually, Joe, can I say something? Because we're all three on at the same time. You know, Lisa's book is going to debut at this 2012 Women's Symposium. It's all women. But we have a panel of men, the Stephenville Lights witnesses, who are going to be with Angela Joyner on Saturday afternoon. But I'm really excited Lisa's going to be there, because it's the debut of her book, and she has a lot of wonderful things to say and a lot of insights that women have in this particular, I rather use the word contact than abduction field, in this contact field. And the thing is, I think it's cool that we have her, and that she's going to be speaking to people that may have had experiences, a little bit like her. And the fact that Carol Roslyn is there, and we have Lynn Katai, who has experience with the Phoenix Lights. I think you've interviewed her before. So it's going to be kind of cool to have Lisa among friends down there.
Well, it's a good place to debut the book. It's an excellent place to debut. Everybody down there is pretty cozy with each other. So it should be a good place to come out. And I can't think of a better company to do it, especially since the X Conference isn't around anymore. So I always loved the X Conference, guys. I'm sorry. It's one of my favorite places.
The reason why I even created this conference down there in Stephenville is because in having that sighting in Texas, it changed the whole entire profile of the state, and that a lot of people never believed this could ever happen, and it changed their world view, and the fact that this is a reality, and it happened, in a place like Stephenville, which is very small, and it was, seen by credible people like the pilot businessman Steve Allen, and the fact that somebody like Angela Joyner, who's also, going to be speaking, and it's kind of built around her, because we're going to be giving her an courage, because she lost her job over reporting this. as you know.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things I was surprised by when we first did the interviews way back when. I was surprised to see how that all went down. But this is a dangerous field to be in, and that is why I also own my own business. So I don't have to worry about getting fired. And most of my customers are very, we'll just say, interested in this. They don't really care that I do it. The ones that really know I do it don't care, and the rest of them seem to kind of think it's funny or interesting or somewhere along those lines. Strange things. Now, I know, Carol, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'm kind of mixing it up. I'm going to get to talk about what we were talking about at the conference, or what's going to be talked about at the conference. But I just want the audience to get a feel for who you are. So why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, Carol?
Wonderful. I'm really glad to be on your show. I don't consider you to be anything other than a really good bad boy, and it's really always fun to be here with you. And with our sense of humor, we're coming in with a very serious issue, and this conference, May 19th to the 20th, is just going to be fantastic. I am so excited to be going that I've been turning down speaking engagements and conferences because I'm doing a lot of writing right now and working with people in different countries to get a treaty signed that will ban all space-based weapons and then allow for the extraterrestrial cosmos cultures to come in safely, where then we can, of course, learn everything and live in peace, hopefully on this planet and in space. I'll be doing an update at the conference that will not be presented any other place except there this year, because before that and soon after that, we hope to have been in contact with some world leaders. And so far we're getting a great response, especially from Japan. We have a couple of songs that were just written for the treaty that were written by a wonderful musician in Denmark, Pia Larsen, who unfortunately can't come to the conference, but she has written these songs for us about the treaty and peace and space and on Earth and knocking on the government's doors that we're going to be doing. So a lot of huge changes will be taking place and a lot of new things have happened that I'm going to be very excited to hear the other speakers present too. And with Paula organizing this and you helping to promote it, we expect to have a lot of good friends come in, people who are not just curious but concerned about things that are going on the planet. And one of the things I'll be talking about is how space-age technology and information can be applied to solving problems on the planet and what we can learn from the cosmos cultures that are, of course, here, and many people know that. Others are learning about it more and more, and thanks to Paula and her books and Lisa and the other speakers, we're getting a really great picture of what's going on. So thanks, Joe, for having us on, and I hope you'll get there because we're going to have a great time.
Oh, I'll probably come down and work press because it is. I didn't realize it was as close as it was until just the other day. I was talking with a friend of mine in Texas, actually my state director in Texas, and I was asking him if he was going. He said, "Well, yeah, Joe, it's only like 2 hours from my house." I'm like, "Well, dude, you're only like 6 or 7 from my house." He's like, "Yeah, it's not that far." So I didn't realize it was right outside of Dallas, and so I was kind of like, "Well, this is a hop, skip, and a jump for us." I mean, we take Sunday afternoons going to talk to contactees that are 9 or 10 hour drives, so it's not even a big deal. It should be a good place. Now, I'm going to get you, well, first Paula up here, so I got to get Paula to tell our audience a little bit about herself. And guys, if you don't know who this woman is, all I'm saying is shame on you, all right?
No, well, no.
You have not done your homework. It's all I can say.
I don't want to, you know what I was going to tell you, Joe, because we'd love to have you and Linda come. We're going to do a sky watching on Saturday night at the place where the lights really happened. So sky watching, because it is the Mike Oldham farm, and it'll be really, a place where there's an unobstructed view of the skies. It's so beautiful just to go out there and look at the stars. But as far as, if you want me to recap what I do, I'm like the Barbara Walters person. I just interview people. I tape them so that I have word for word what they told me, and I can't get in trouble for misinterpreting something. And my books are all interviews. I mean, they go from the ex-defense minister of Canada, Paul Hellyer, to people like Stephen Bassett, Richard Dolan, Kathleen the Betty and Barney Hill case. And just recently, I was on Coast to Coast with the daughter of Kenneth Arnold. Kenneth Arnold, you know, was the first one to coin the term flying saucer. 1947, you know, his sightings in Washington State. Well, you know, it took me 4 months to get her to talk. I can't even tell you what I had to go through, because he had gone through hell with the media, with the people that were bugging him after this happened. So the family was like very, very nervous and paranoid, and took a long time for me to get Kim Arnold to speak. And she did a great job, because I didn't know, and maybe you didn't, that her father had 8 sightings. He didn't have 1. And so that her father also filmed some of these craft. You know, in the end, I got to tell you, I asked her, what did your father think? And Kenneth Arnold thought, number 1, they were fact. Number 1, they were harmless, because he figured if they were going to do something, they would have done it a long time ago. And number 3, he thought that it was spiritually aligned with some kind of spirit world, because he could see them disappear and appear, and on one occasion he saw a morphing, pulsating UFO that had like a human heartbeat to it. So this is also interesting, and that's my job. I think we should, all share the microphone, but that's just my job. I just go and I interview people, get their exact words, and ask them what they think, not what I think, what they think, and then I put it in books. I've written 4 books already, and I'm re-releasing one called UFOs, How Does One Speak to a Ball of Light?
Now, this ought to be interesting. I'm going to have to come see that one just so I can see what you're talking about. It's, I read a lot what's going to be speaking. Oh, somebody had just written to me and asked me to get y'all a list of speakers while we were on the air. And I didn't have it in front of me, so I figured y'all would know I was going to get one of y'all to go ahead and list all the speakers that'll be there.
Hey, I think we should all start talking, you all, because I love the way Texans speak, and you're using you all, too, so we've got to use it, absolutely.
Yeah, well, y'all can use y'all, because unfortunately I am a Louisiana person. I can't say what the actual saying is, because it's a great show, but well, still.
Joe,
and Lisa Carroll, just jump in.
Well, Lisa speaks like that anyway, right, Lisa? You're from Nebraska.
And the more I listen to Joe, the more the y'alls try to come, they just kind of flow.
So I'm allowed to do it on the air, just not when I'm doing lectures.
Okay, so you want the list of speakers. We have Carol Roslyn, and she will be speaking on banning space-based weapons in the treaty. We have Lynn Kitai, who will be talking about the significance of the Phoenix Lights on mass consciousness also. Lisa, she told you she'll be discussing her book, but, there's a lot of implications in the messages that stand God, and Lisa's reaction to them. She was present during a lot of this. We have Angela Joyner, who was the journalist that covered the Stephenville Lights, and she will be on Saturday afternoon with the 4 witnesses. One of the people is a MUFON gentleman named Robert Powell, who has the radar reportings for this. So we have like real scientific data. Tracy Austin Peters, she's kind of the moderator. She's from Great Britain. She had a show in Las Vegas, Talk Paranormal. She's really cute. She has this British accent, but she's also a contact here. She's also had contact, and she will talk about that and probably lead Sunday's discussion. We have a new woman, Karen Grisham-Nickel, who is a counselor, hypnotherapist, contactee who has dealt with a lot of cases of contact, especially some coal miners in Virginia. She was there 1 whole month dealing with that area of contact, and she actually is from Glen Rose. She works out of Dallas, Texas, is a world-renowned hypnotherapist and psychic. She's really fantastic, and that's our group of ladies.
And we're going to be bringing messages from other people, including some of us who have had some messages given to us by some Cosmos Cultures representatives. I wanted to mention, this is Carol speaking again, that I'm going to also be bringing some information and messages from Paul Hellyer, the Honorable Paul Hellyer, former Minister of Defense of Canada, whom Paula mentioned and is a good friend of his. He is the most outspoken international Minister of Defense on the planet about the UFO issue. He is just astonishing, and many other issues related, like economics and politics. And I'll also bring a message from Dr. Scott Jones, who's a retired U.S. Navy with a background in intelligence and was the senior-ranking advisor to the Claiborne Pell. He also founded Peace, Inc., the Peace and Emergency Action Coalition for Earth, which this treaty that I'll talk about is a project of. He's just incredible and knows a lot from the insider intelligence viewpoint. Abe Krieger, a former Boeing structural engineer and business development manager, 37 years in charge of a lot of the technologies we know about and don't love so much at Boeing. And Commander Will Miller, retired U.S. Navy officer, Commander 2, quite decorated, and a senior technology support officer with the U.S. Atlantic Command. He served on the advisory board of this Space Cooperation and Development Treaty. All of these men, including Dr. Edgar Mitchell, whom you know, the astronaut, founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, 6 Men on the Moon, and my advisor for almost 40 years. One of my advisors, the most, to me, significant astronaut on the planet because he is alive and has gone public with so much about the UFO issue. And these men that I just mentioned actually co-authored this treaty that is the first one that acknowledges cosmos cultures and indigenous cultures. It's a story, really, that people can read in different languages on peaceandspace.com, that website. So we're all going to be, I know, have amazing stories to this conference, and I'm glad to be able to share these people and a lot more.
You know, maybe I'll come down and do a Woman in Ufology series. You know, I did one. My very first X conference, I think it was the second one, I did a series, Ufology Today, which, by the way, Paula was one of the guests in it, and along with Rich and several others. And it's a really good series. We just never made it public because we didn't find the audio to be good enough to release, and then we wanted to do the guests, which is great interviews, by the way. But we have nice new equipment just for this. I might have to come down and do that because we have really good cameras now and really good audio on them. And they really make for a nice series. Yeah, go ahead.
Bring your camera because, Paola, you can tell them we're all going to be in red. We are.
Well, you know, we're at the cocktail party, and cocktail parties call Lady in Red, and everybody needs to dress in a red cocktail dress at the meet and greet. So I'm going to have this poster done of everyone in a red cocktail dress, and I know that I talked to Lisa about this. I think you already have yours, don't you, Lisa?
No, not yet. I have a blue one, a black one, but no red one.
Well, you got to get a red cowboy hat.
know.
The red cowboy hat, and Carol has a red cowboy hat.
I got my hat, my cowboy hat. I want a horse. Do you have a horse, Joe?
No, that's too much.
No, we'll get some friends in Texas got some. Hey, this will give me a chance to wear my tie. I wear it much in New Orleans. You can. In Texas, it's kind of expected. You're used to wear, put my kickers on. Well, I like boots anyway, which that's one of the things. You know, because it'll be a good chance to do something. Get down and interview everybody and do a nice series and make it available. I was thinking, too, because everything's so instant now with Facebook and Twitter and MySpace and a whole bunch of them, that actually they can do a lot of live promotion right from the conference. And I was thinking if I do come down, I'd like to do at least a couple of hours of live broadcast on Saturday during the day and maybe either Sunday or Friday. It's because I love broadcasting live for a conference. Jerry Pittman got me hooked on it actually at Doc. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. It really is. It's just a lot of fun to do live. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know what a guest is going to say. But still,
well, I'll tell you something. If you come, Joe, I'll announce it because it's not a criticism, but one of the things people are saying is, there's all women there, it's just for women. No, it isn't. I mean, it is not. There are more men, actually, that are registering. And, you know, Steve Allen, who was the pilot businessman who was the main witness for Stephenville, he's going to do a radio show with me shortly about what happens when you have this kind of sighting. I mean, he's a pilot. Can you imagine seeing this thing? And so the thing is that if you come and other, you know, male people come, you know, we'll announce it. We'll announce that you're going to be there, and I think it'll be great.
And they don't have to wear red.
No, you don't have to wear red. It's going to make you wear red. It's lady will recognize us.
It's in May, right? Oh, man, where's the date? I had the date just in front of me a minute ago. Y'all give me the date.
18, 19, 20.
Of May, right?
Yeah,
I just
18,
sure.
19, 20.
That's actually perfect. That's usually a good time for me to take off. Because, as a matter of fact, I was talking with my business partner about it this afternoon. I said, I'm going to be interviewing this evening. I said, I'd like to go down and hang out, for the weekend with him also. It's right around the corner. I'm trying to talk him into coming with me. He's like, aliens, what? He's like, what are you talking about, aliens, Joe? Well, a friend of mine in one of our radio shows here on he's Second Sight NYC, him and his girlfriend, Stephanie Benetti, and I think he's a contactee. Well, this guy will go out and do exorcism, chase codes. Well, you mentioned the aliens. He's like, I'm like, dude, no, not that bad, trust me. So you're going to have quite a few contactees, and I imagine, I'm hoping this will draw in some of the contactees that used to go to Laughlin and some of the other places. Well,
I got to tell you, I'm going to be clear about this, though, and Carol knows this. I've talked to Lisa about this, too. This is not going to be your regular conference. There's no gadgets, T-shirts, little aliens, and silly. I don't want any of that. Even our poster doesn't have any of that on there. Basically, I want it to be a respectful dialogue, something that is, the word symposium has the connotation that it's serious business. In other words, the first Saturday, we're just going to talk about lights and the real nitty-gritty nuts and bolts stuff. And the second day, Tracy Austin Peters will introduce the contact scenario, which a lot of people in Texas aren't maybe ready for yet, but I'm sure that they'll, with the people that we've chosen to speak about it, we're not, we're going to do it in a very respectful, non-fear-based, just black and white kind of situation. I really think that when you talk about contact, you have to be careful how you approach it, especially with people that, are just still looking at the lights in the sky.
I know. Boy, it's too bad we couldn't talk Melinda and Kim to come over and bring those cameras with them. Oh, man, I'll have to call him, maybe do some
No, I think that I don't want to get into military induction. I don't want to get into all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. I can see that.
Any fear-based anything, Joe. I'm going to be really serious about that because
it should be.
Yeah, because I can actually have the thing go the way I want it with the flavor that I want. And I know that Kim is coming, but she's bringing her glasses, which I think probably is going to be great for us in the sky watching.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. I was hoping one of them would come with the glasses. I didn't want them to come talk about anything. I just wanted them to bring the glasses for him.
Why don't you get some glasses? Why don't you get them? They're absolutely wonderful. I've used them on the Gilliland Ranch up in Washington State, and James Gilliland has these incredible night screening glasses that go onto a computer. He actually can show you what's going on in the skies. I mean, they just cost $3,000. That's all, Joe.
Yeah, I know. I see that too. But you know what? See, where we live on the Gulf Coast, you don't need glasses to see the UFOs. They fly nice and low over the beaches. We got matter of fact, this year we got a sighting coming out. It was taken by 2 state troopers in Long Beach, Mississippi. It's really good too. But down here, for some reason, maybe it's because the cloud deck is so low. I don't know what it is, but you can drive down any of the coastal highways down here, pretty much a given between 8 and 11 p.m., you're going to see something, usually a black triangle, but from time to time you'll see a saucer. There's another hot spot, Biloxi is, Mobile Bay is. There's just a really lot of activity down here. So it's kind of like, just get in your car and go look. I tell people all the time, if you think you've had any type of contact or you would really like to have some contact, go get in your car, get on an airplane, drive down to Eglin and to Navarre Beach, Florida, get your one of those condos right there near Eglin Air Force Base and park your butt on the beach for a couple of days, and I guarantee you, I guarantee you something will happen. There's some wild stuff goes on. And it's not bad stuff, by the way. I don't want people to get the wrong idea here. But it is some crazy, weird, insane stuff. I mean, ships on the beach, things coming over you, just sitting there hovering over the beach. It's a wild place to be. And there's a bunch of testing areas down there and 64 airfields. So the military must know something, because there's airfields everywhere. It's an 884 square mile base. And constantly, we get reports from pilots, from people in the Navy, from the Air Force, constantly stuff coming in and out of the bases. Not actually going to the base. They usually go into one of the swamp areas on the base or something like that. It's really crazy stuff.
Which means it could be our stuff. So
some of it is.
It's our stuff. Can you imagine that we can't tell the difference? Sometimes.
Well, the TR-3Bs, or whatever they call them now, the black triangles, the first time I seen one was up close and personal. And the very first time, and we're talking 81, 82, I really thought it was alien. But over the years of watching and being involved in the field, I realized, oh, no, this is government, because where they were showing up the most in the early days was all the testing areas, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, California, along the Gulf Coast. These are all testing areas where we test aircraft and have been for 40 years now. And so when you see stuff there, you can pretty much guarantee its size, even though it's very advanced. And most of these areas like the Gulf Coast, you can't, when you're off the coast, 10, 15 miles, there's nothing to see. A ship you might pass occasionally, but you can fly out there pretty much unhindered anything you want. And a lot of the South is just still rural woods, so you can fly over off the interstates like that because there's so much woods along the sides of them. So it's a good place to test aircraft. And I'll tell you another thing, too. If you're ever down here, you can go, it's on the Mississippi-Louisiana state line, you can park at the NASA Stennis facility right outside the base. And if you park there on any Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday between like 8 p.m. and midnight, guaranteed to see a black triangle, guaranteed. And usually the way it'll happen is, because the skies are beautiful at night, just stars everywhere. You'll be laying out in a hooded car watching stars, and all of a sudden, it'll just be black above you. It just blots out, and then you realize there's a craft passing over. And we've, not only just us, we've gone down there with several occasions and just watched these things. Just fly, and they seem not to, I know they know we're there, but I don't guess they care. But recently, they did run us off. We had a French director with us flew in from France, and they asked us to leave. I was kind of like, okay, weird stuff. But if y'all get down there now, anyway, enough about all of that. Wait, Lisa, you've been awful quiet back there.
Well, I'm just not used to being on the radio. Paula and Carol are pros. I just got to listen and learn.
Lisa, you have a lot to tell about sightings. Oh, my God, you and Stan have had more sightings than anybody I know. But, we were all together at the watch.
With us.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was with you. But why don't you talk about some of the sightings you and Stan have had?
Oh, my gosh. The first one I actually saw was back in 2003, my very first UFO. And I was always a believer, and before Stan's first sighting in 2000, he wasn't. So that was amazing for me. But it was just a regular, okay, not regular, but like in the sci-fi movies, the disc UFO. And it was like we were on Interstate 80, and we were in like Ohio, back towards Nebraska. And it stayed in front of us for 3 states. Literally, every time we'd pull over, it would go behind a cloud. So it was incredible.
Playing peekaboo with you, huh?
Yeah, it was. So that was the first one. But, we've had so many that Stan still gets excited. I'm like, I've seen it, I've been there, I've done it. Move on,
I'm glad you said that, because Linda and I were just discussing this very thing the other day. We were down in Fairhope, Alabama, on our way to Gulf Shores, Florida. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just like, well, yeah, okay, seen it, done it, been there. Every now and then we see something that does get us excited. So even for an old-timer, it gets a little weird for me, because a lot of times I'm like, yeah, whatever. If E.T.'s not going to come land in front of my car and say, hey, Joe, what's up, I'm kind of aggravated with them. But every now and then we have one of those experiences. I don't want to say sight, I would say experience. And it leaves you for a couple of weeks. You're like, okay, what just happened? I know Lisa knows what I'm talking about.
Well, that's it. But once you have little beings standing in your backyard and you have pictures of them, I don't look at that. I look around now. So,
well, that's actually a good thing to say, because a lot of people don't realize that they do move around. Every now and then I'll see a picture, like the one lady at Pensacola, Florida, got one in her backyard. I guess it was when her kids were back there, so I guess that's what it was doing. It was just standing there by the fence. And everybody's analyzed it, so it's a good one, too. It's kind of creepy when you realize what they're probably getting ready to do. But
they're not all like that, though, Jill. The thing is, Elisa's talking about is she and Stan have photographs of children hybrid children, and they have they have photographs of beings in their backyard. Especially, you have one incident at the 4th of July when you were partying in your backyard, and then you look at the picture, and there's watchers. There's beings watching them. I think, and I will say this publicly, the Stan Romanek case for me is one of the best documented cases of contact ever, because he not only has movies, he has photographs of these beings and photographs of these children. So, Lisa, you might address that. It's not just by accident.
No, it's not. And it's hard for a lot of people to come to terms with, the hybrid of these children via the abduction, and that's what it is. I mean, contact is different than abduction, in my opinion, but, when they're taking people, they are creating these hybrid children. A lot of people are afraid that they're being created to replace humans with, and that's not what it's about. It's about introducing a new race to our planet. We have 5 races now: white, black, yellow, red, and brown. So, I mean, it's just another race that they're trying to place onto Earth. But they're very amazing little kids, and you can't not fall in love with them, even though you don't spend time with them.
Yeah, I know the hybrid thing's always fascinating me. It's something we follow really closely. Actually, we've added so much lately. Go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, when you, it's so great that you're bringing these stories onto your show, because there's so many people out there. When you listen, for example, to the politicians now, the candidate thing, it's almost ridiculous conversations because they haven't yet been educated about the things like what Lisa's talking about and what Paula's written about and you've produced on your show. And yet it's such a strong reality that when someone like me, I'm I'm an educator by background and a child psychologist and all of that, but I fell into the corporate complex positions. And it's been rather weird for somebody like me to come out, but I could come out with my stories, and there's so many more people that have them because of the credibility of people like Lisa and Paola and the other speakers and your guests, that I hope somehow we can refer people to shows like yours and to this conference, because it's such an education and it's grounded. It's based on truth and reality that it's life-changing, and it's actually what we all need to hear about on this planet, because it's the information that's pivotal at our time in the course of history. If we keep going the way we are, we know the consequences are pretty dire. But as we bring this truth out to the world, and if we can get it into some of these candidates and leaders' hands, I'm doing it on the international level, but we have to do it in this country. It's just fantastic to hear your stories, Lisa, and you present it so well.
Well, thank you. And at the conference, I plan to include the pictures of the children, pictures of all of the beings that we have come in contact with, that we have pictures of, and there are plenty of them. So I really hope that'll encourage you to come.
I'm
excited to see the pictures.
The other thing that's really interesting, with your story, Lisa, is that it's ongoing, and there's some positive messages that have come through. I mean, apart from the fact that Stan has all these equations for anti-gravity, which some of the top physicists have looked at, and he's gotten these equations he's been downloaded like that, which is real interesting. This is part of that story. Also, your son was involved, wasn't he, with some of these equations?
Well, when he was 8 years old, and it's kind of a hard story for me, but he wrote an equation on his wall in the middle of the night. But what had happened, Stan woke me up, and he said, "I think they took Jake." And instead of panicking, it's like, okay, you go check and make sure he's still there. And he came back and he said he's there, but he's like staring at me. Well, the next morning, I just assumed everything was fine. Jake was in his bed. Next morning, I found the equations, just totally freaked out. I was angry. I was, every emotion you could imagine was directed at Stan. for bringing that into my family. And he felt guilty about it. But what I came to realize was that the reason they involved my son was because Stan was fighting against doing what he had to do, and that was tell his story. And that's all his responsibility is to tell his story. And the reason they gave him the equations is to validate that it happened for him and for other people, because Stan, he doesn't make us, keep it a secret. He cannot do long division, let alone write a huge equation that Claude Swanson, who is a physicist, is still struggling to figure out.
Wow.
I mean, it's a lot of it is validation for Stan, and using my son or my daughters to get him to move forward with what he needs to do is just part of what they did,
We have Sam listed on our contactee groups as a communicator. That's what he's listed at, along with Marion Dedicata, Nia Roslyn, and a few others. Contactees play vastly different roles for different reasons and different stuff. He's definitely, though, I've talked to him enough times now that because we have induction criteria and all kind of stuff in the organization now, and we definitely have him listed as a communicator, which is, some contactees, that's what they're driven to do. They're driven to tell a story and tell what they know and tell what they've been told. A lot of them do it, and then, frankly, though, the bad part is, when y'all were talking about abductees earlier, for me, abductee is simply a contactee that, technically they're a contactee. That's what an abductee is to me. And it's not that, and see, I got to be honest about this while I'm talking about this. For us, it's not a matter of these are good, bad, or indifferent experiences. We realize from childhood these things are happening. The experiences of childhood are not there. Puberty can be a little taxing. When you get your 30s, 40s, 50s, it's a much different kind of experience. It's not what people would call classic abduction. It's not what it is. It's a whole entirely different thing. Usually they're letting you learn and experience it for the people who can understand it. They let them get more involved. For the people who aren't fearful and freaking out about it every time they bring them on board a ship or in a building, they let them understand one. They let them retain more memory that way. It's interesting. There's a bunch of them out there. There's more than most people realize. I mean, I just did a series with 20 contactees just a couple of months back, and it's amazing. Stan was one of them, matter of fact. He was on the show.
And, Joe, how many of those contactees did you ask, have you ever had an extraterrestrial look in your window?
Actually, that comes up more frequent than you would. I don't. Maybe because of that.
I know it happened.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, the questions come up more frequently than you would think, because and I really do think it has something to do with that photo that Stan released a while back. And I really do think that's what it has to do with, or at least why people started asking it. Because I ask all the time, have you actually seen the ETs in your room, in your house, in your yard, in your car, on the street? Because it's something we're curious about. Matter of fact, it's in even some questionnaires we have. That's one of the questions listed in it. Because we're curious, because for a real contactee, someone who's fully aware that they are being contacted, they understand some of what's going on, they usually do retain memories of where they're contacted. And a lot of times there's trigger memories like a sighting. They'll have a sighting, and all of a sudden they'll realize, oh no, there was a gray standing by the car, there was a gray here or a gray there, or there's this type of alien or that type of alien nearby. And it's a really weird thing to watch unfold. It's a really thing. On an average week, we talk to a lot of contactees these days, and it's a really weird thing to watch unfold. And frankly, I know a lot more than I did when I got involved in this, but I've still got a lot to learn about it, I got to tell y'all. And I like listening to Stan, because Stan's become sure of himself, or I should say he's more comfortable with himself when he talks about this, and that's a big plus, because it's a little unnerving when you have to incorporate this into your full-time life.
Yeah.
That was not a photo, too. We got to make clear that was a frame of a movie.
Yeah, well, actually, that's very true. That's very true.
He has two incredible films that were taken, and I don't know, Lisa, does he show them both? He does conferences, I think he does.
I know he does Boo, the one in the window. He's been holding off on the one we call Grandpa Gray.
Yeah.
Because it's going to, they're going to use it in the documentary.
Yeah, because they're doing a documentary, but I've seen the second one, and the second one's unbelievable. He's so cute, though, but it's just that it's scary for Stan. I mean, you can see Stan's reaction after he's filmed. But, there is a documentary they're going to make, or they did make on the Stan Romanek case. You might want to mention that.
Yeah. It's actually going to be, it's going to be called the Stan Romanek story. And I have a lot of feedback. It's freaking
Yes, I know. I'm getting that myself. That's kind of weird. All of a sudden, just out of the blue, we started getting feedback. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? We're going to take an impromptu break. We're about 10 minutes before our break. So I want everyone to please stay tuned to UFO Undercover. We'll be back in about 8 to 10 minutes.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hello, everyone. Therese Sheridan, host of A Global Focus. Come join us each Friday evening at A Global Focus's new time, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Come join the discussion.
Open your mind to the high streams of UFOs, paranormal, occult, metaphysics, and politics. We always listen to the apologists every Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern. TheChurchOfDavid.com, Paranormal Radio Network.com. J-Com is watching.
Hi, this is Rob Simone, and I'm going to tell you about my brand new show here on the Paranormal Radio Network. Each week, I bring you the most interesting people on the planet, the most in-depth discussions, and the most controversial issues. We go where no talk show dares to go. Join me every week for the Rob Simone Talk Show here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
To UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Psychic Medium Chris George.
And I'm Stephanie Benetti. Psychic Medium, are you sure about that, Chris? It's more like Psychic Extra Large.
Yeah, real funny, Benetti. But then again, being my girlfriend, you would know. Together, we are Second Sight NYC, a parapsychic radio show based out of New York City.
Join us each week as we journey into the unknown. Let's cross the threshold of reality together.
We take a fun and no-nonsense approach to our show, and we love to interact with our audience. Each week, you can expect a great guest, interesting topics, and strong opinions by myself and Stephanie.
As well as rapid readings, psychic dream interpretations, and the gemstone of the week. And don't ask us a question that you don't want an answer to.
Give us 2 hours of your time to inform, enlighten, and entertain you. Let the journey
join us.
Hey, hi there. Got your attention? I'm Gia Scott, and I was curious what you were doing from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. See, I host this really interesting little radio program that airs live then, and we bring in all sorts of guests, authors, everything in between. It's paranormal and guaranteed to make you go, My guest list is always up at www.giascott.com, and do tune in to the Dawn of Shades from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Light up your night with The Kevin Smith Show. Hi, this is Kevin Smith. Join me Monday through Friday right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging E.T. in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really kicked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with Icar, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing. Said he got Vaseline, seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye. night and said, any last wish before you die, yo? Reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, fill your club, you son of a bitch. Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no fuck to 6-foot Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Okay, what was that? All right, there we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to UFO Undercover. I am your host, Joe Montaldo. Sorry about that little delay when we started out there. I was fiddling with something. I should have been talking. Y'all should be familiar with the guest tonight. I know we cut off a little earlier there, but we were getting some weird feedback. I don't know if y'all could hear it, but we could definitely hear it, so we just wanted to clear up the audio. All three of these ladies do have a lot to say, and I want to make sure that everybody gets to hear them cleanly and plainly and what we're discussing. Tonight's guest is Lisa Romanek, Dr. Carolyn Roslyn, and Paula Harris, and you shouldn't be familiar with all of them. Lisa hasn't actually been here with us to talk about any experience she's had, but she's here to talk about this tonight and some other stuff. And I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with her husband, Stan Romanek, as well, so this should give you an idea where the topic matter is going to go. Everybody here works in this field. Nobody here, though, and I'm talking about a forest, would be considered ufologist. So to the person who sent me that question, no. Paula's definitely not a ufologist, Carol's definitely not a ufologist, and Lisa's definitely not a ufologist, and neither am myself. You got to call me anything, contact you, research, or what have you, but let's leave the ufologist word out of there. I mean, do any of y'all three, I hate to be speaking for y'all, but I just assume, which is a bad thing to do, that y'all are not ufologists.
Well, no.
You have to define what ufologist is, because the journalistic work I do is in the UFO field. So often, like in Europe, they will define me as a ufologist, in Europe especially. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And, I'm glad you said that about Europe, because I wanted to ask you about this before we get on to this other stuff. It's, we've accumulated a lot of European directors. As a matter of fact, Farah's on board with us as one of our directors now, but we have several, Neil Good, quite a few other directors in the UK and France and Germany, a few other places. And, when I first got into this field, and we're talking 27, 28 years ago, I was on the assumption that Europe was a lot more open about ufology than the United States was. But in recent dealings, and I'm talking about in the last 10 years, it doesn't seem to be true. Now, am I just missing something, Paul? Because I know you're over there way more, so you should really have a better grasp on this than I did. I'm just curious because... Go ahead.
I lived in Italy for 15 years, and Europe is a lot more open to it, and because they're a lot more open to it because the ridicule or laughing factor isn't there, because they don't wear T-shirts or walk around with tinfoil on their head, and they don't have magnets that they sell and so forth. Our conferences, and I've spoken in Switzerland, Italy, France, Spain, Belgium, and I've spoken in all these places. Nobody was laughing, and it was filled with people. And basically, they're curious. They want to know. A lot of people in the audience are not there to have a good time. They're basically, what's there is college professors, astronomers, scientists who want the real facts. And I do think it's a lot more open. At least when I was living there, they would report it on the 6 o'clock news all the time. And here, I'm looking at the 6 o'clock news, and I don't get anything. I mean, there's no way that they report anything here in the United States.
And if they do, they're
in the United States, there's also a huge vested interest in keeping this a secret. And we all live under this canopy of lies and behind all these veils of secrecy, because the game has always been to seize the high ground, and the high ground is now space, and that's where the weaponization of space is going. and that's why we're trying to get a ban on space-based weapons. But one of the reasons, as Werner von Braun warned us about years ago, within a list of wars that he said were going to happen, now all of them, except the last card, have happened. So that kind of proved that he was in the strategy meeting. So I think that's why in the U.S. and perhaps among the allies, there is huge intention to keep this unofficially acknowledged. So I'm wondering, are you in touch with the government people in different countries, Paola, and do you see that opening up more and more, the disclosure, official acknowledgement of the disclosure?
Absolutely. The Italian Air Force, if you look at their website, they have a section on UFOs. It says unidentified flying objects in the Italian Air Force website. Also, when Colonel Corso was there, when I brought Colonel Corso to Italy, to the Republic of San Marino, what they did, they all signed a paper for a United Nations resolution. And I know that other United Nations resolutions, are in the works. The EU is trying to look into it. Now, the way they're doing this, though, is they're not saying they're aliens. They're just looking at the national security issues around, having these craft in airspace. Now, Great Britain with the release of their MOD files, France with the Cometa report is asking America what they know. That's at the end of the Cometa report. Other countries just want to know, and because it's a national security issue for them. And the only thing, Joe, the reason why you really look at it that way is that I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's something that people should be laughing at. I think it's something that should be taken seriously. And here, it's a big party. I mean, often I go to several places, and it's not only a big party, it's a circus. And so people walk by, regular business people, they look over at us. They're having a conference or something, and they're laughing, and I'm thinking, they shouldn't be doing that. It should be in a university setting. It should be a serious dialogue, and that's why I call this conference a symposium instead of a conference, because I think everybody should talk about it. It should be fun. It should be something that we all have something to say and that we're looking at research.
You know what I found really interesting along that line that you're talking about, Paola? I've been working with Japan, with Dr. Sakurako Tanaka and Kosi Akata, some experts there in different fields from the indigenous to the technical fields related to this issue, and they are so open to this issue that they want to get the ban on space-based weapons, this treaty, signed really fast, because they see it seriously in the form of not just security, although they see Japan going for, can you believe it, upgraded nukes and missile defense, more weapons, which is just ridiculous for Japan, but because they see that when this information gets released, so do the budgets and the brains that otherwise are being applied to these very dangerous and polluting technologies. It's the old war mindset, the fear-based, as you were mentioning, that fear-based mindset that doesn't exist in the cosmos. I mean, the signs of it are in the space station, and people that used to be adversaries are just having a great time in outer space, a really great time. And so this brings in the disclosure that you're talking about happening in the different parts of the world, I think, is what's going to change the whole game. It's all based on a very peaceful outlook. It's not based on the way we humans have been raised to fear or look at others who don't look like us and act like us as being enemies, because they're not in space. And really, we're not. We get into the heart and soul of the truth of who we really are in these bodies on this planet and the universes.
Absolutely.
I loved what Stan said the very first time I met him with you, Lisa, in the International UFO Congress in Phoenix a year ago, November, in 2011, I guess it was. I remember, because I had never met you guys before, I'd never been to one of these conferences before, and he said, yes, I was really, really afraid at the beginning, but then I learned that there was nothing to be afraid of. And I thought that was such a huge bottom line to this issue, and why the rest of the world who are not so afraid and are more fed up with wars and that mission than that we've been on in the U.S. are more open to it. That's what I'm seeing happen anyway, and especially with this work in Japan, it's been such an awakening to see them coming forward with, yes, we want to get this information out.
Well, I wish somebody would disclose because I'd get a paid job then. I wouldn't have to spend my own money. Hey, I'm Paula, you get a paid job too, I'm sure.
The thing is, yeah, and as far as consulting, I mean, I do that anyway, but it's like, what do you mean by disclose? I think everybody's disclosing. It's Obama's job, and I don't think that he has enough on his plate. I'm sure that the government. By the way, half of those guys don't know. Half of the guys have no idea what's going on. So I don't know if we're going to look for an official anything. Anybody who does any work in this field and has studied and read knows that it's real. I think disclosure is happening every day. I mean, just come to the conference, and the people that are involved and have been involved, they're disclosing, but they're not disclosing on radio and television and all that because. We're in a transitory period, and one of the things I always say to people, I don't think ufology is a religion. I mean, you don't have to. In other words, you don't have to believe. I can't. There's members of my family that will not talk about this, and I'm not going to force it on them. I just can't.
Well, no,
you'll be disowned like I was.
No, you can't. See, my family is weird. They don't really get involved in it, even though I talk about contactees coming from family lines. It makes them a little nervous, but they're willing to listen and not judge, which is I'm really lucky there. Whether they disagree, they're not going to argue with me about it, so that's fine. So if they don't like it, they'll just turn off the radio or turn off the internet. They won't have to listen, which is fine. And I prefer it. And I tell people all the time, if you're going to bitch, at least offer a solution. So most people can't, so I tell them, shut up. And by the way, Paul, I agree with you. I mean, I've been griping about more professional conferences for 15 years, which has got me in trouble many times at conferences, by the way. And frankly, I've been saying the only way disclosure is going to happen is by the people. It's the only way it's going to ever happen, forced disclosure from the people. Eventually, there'll be enough.
Or ETs, though, Joe. I mean,
the ETs, that's true.
ETs. I mean, if you have a mass sighting over some major airport and there's like 10 UFOs and they're just sitting there and they're not shot down, which is what we do.
Here's one for y'all. I've been having several, in the last 3 years, we've had probably 150, 200 contactees come in and say, the way the ETs, when they finally will disclose, isn't going to be with ships or anything else. All of a sudden, one day, they'll just be standing on the street next to us. They'll beam, I say beam, but they'll just drop down probably several thousand at one time. And they will be just standing there looking at it. There won't be no denying it, though. They'll be like, okay, that's definitely an alien. There's not going to be any arguing that fact. And they'll probably leave right away, too, just enough to let everybody know. But by then, I think by the time that happens, I think so much of this will have got out into the general population that it won't be as shocking as everybody thinks it's going to be. So, I'm still waiting. I mean, I got a little while left on the planet, so I'm not in that big of a hurry. And I just know the government's not going to disclose because of the simple amount of money they make off of this and the amount of power they get to keep. Every time I turn around, they're introducing some new weapon or some new craft. Just yesterday, I see now we've got bullets that can go a mile and follow you and go around corners and stuff. I'm thinking, okay, this is something right out of one of these sci-fi movies.
And wait till they get into psychotronic weapons, the mind control that if they put in geosynchronous orbit 22,300 and some miles above the Earth in 3 spots, it hits the footprint of the entire planet.
Well, Carol, I'm with you. I don't think they should be weapons not. Damn it. Sorry, I couldn't spit that out. The weaponization of space, I think, is just a bad thing to start off with. It should never be allowed. And then the other day I heard Newt talking about let's put a base on the moon. He said a colony. I'm thinking, we're going to put a colony on the moon. We'll have named to every country on the planet after that. Yeah. I'm like, there needs to be some kind of formal consensus on this planet before we start going.
Well, that's what we wrote in the treaty. If you the treaty really does have the consensus in it. I'm told by a lot of people around the world now that I've heard of since we did your show a few months ago. They've said that they think more than 50% of the countries will sign that treaty quickly. We're working on it very slowly and deliberately and, being very careful to try to make it relevant to each country leader, to the self-interests of that leader and the country. And it's not so easy because it's a transitionary thought process like what you're describing that they have to get into. It's a whole new way of thinking and seeing how the economy can work and not based on this weapons program that you're talking about. That's what it's been based on all those years.
Well, I think you're going to get a little help here, Carol. I think this last recession for the planet, not just for the United States, taught the world that we're much more closely related than we thought we were. We're all really tied together, and what affects one affects everybody else. And I think for the first time in this planet's history, with 7 billion people on it, 5 billion of them have now realized, you know what, we are all kind of tied together, and we need to start getting along. So I know we're not perfect, we get along, and I don't even want to try to get into that, but it does look like, because of these kind of things, that we might actually be moving in the right direction for a change.
Yeah, I became even more aware of it in working with Japan, because you see the radiation cloud. I mean, and now it's happening in different parts of the country. They're afraid of one right in Chicago. I mean, it's just happening everywhere. There were 29 Chernobyl-like accidents that took place in Russia, and so there's no boundary anymore. There are man-made boundaries, but the geographical one in the air, in space, just does not exist. So you're right. I think we're, by default, almost coming together in a more spiritual way, more connected, aware way.
Well, we learn we all need each other. I mean, if you look at Europe, they're getting oil from Russia now, which was something you would have never thought of before. They're getting, they're importing from China and all countries that we would have never dealt with before. So yeah, I mean, I think it's looking good. And with all countries like China and Japan, both have a big interest in UFOs, and even Russia's expressed some interest over the last few years about coming out more with more stuff. So I think the United States is going to start getting more pressure, but I don't know if it's going to matter as far as our politics are concerned. Our politicians seem to live in a land of their own somewhere, so they're not even on the same planet with the rest of us.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think that they can handle this issue. And I wouldn't want anybody that didn't know anything about anything making judgments about it either, because one of the things I believe in, and Carol and I are both educators, is that they have to be educated. They have to know. It didn't happen yesterday. It's not an American phenomenon. It may have happened in our early history on the planet. I mean, look at ancient history. Look at the Egyptians. Look at the Sumerians. Look at just the whole entire demographics of the planet. Look at the Renaissance art that has UFOs in it. I mean, so this isn't something that happened yesterday. This is something that's been around for a long time that we need to look at intelligently and see how we fit into it.
That's a great talking point to give to a presidential candidate. Maybe we could start collecting talking points. If anybody wants to send me some talking points for candidates to spacetreaty@gmail.com, I'll take the talking points. And I think we ought to put a package together, because even what all of you have been talking about on the show are educational pieces. You're right, Paola.
Well, it has to be that way. I wouldn't want decisions where I have no idea what's going on. It would be really scary, because it would come out of fear. I mean, it would totally come out of fear. And if whatever is there has been around for eons, has been around for centuries, then and never really destroyed this planet or anything, but has watched the planet. I love Renato Longato. He's one of my favorite ufologists. He says that they are cosmic anthropologists, which I believe that the cosmic cultures or the aliens are probably watching. They're cosmic anthropologists, and it's really interesting to know that we're, they interact, because with Lisa and Stan and so forth, they've chosen to interact. With me, no. With me, nothing. They just, say exact with you. But with a lot of other situations, they are watching. They're watching everybody.
And there are a lot of us out there that haven't. I've had an experience, a very profound one, actually several, and I've given hints to it. I haven't really talked about it in great detail yet. I'm kind of waiting for the right moment, and I think maybe it's the wrong moment for now, because I want to get a treaty signed, and it's looking crazy enough to be a woman wearing red with curly hair. It's just there's got to be a way to make this really credible. And I think now what we're saying is that the timing is right, and we really are in grave danger on the planet from a number of possible man-made or natural disasters that I don't want to get into, and that energy. But if we could present the benefits that would exist, and that's one of the things I'm working on, is a vision of the benefits from what we will learn from, what we've already learned from these many, many visitations that have gone on forever. Like you said, this isn't a new phenomenon at all. It's just new in the consciousness of people. I think people will start to see that it's a much more in our interest to transform the whole mentality of being afraid of each other, hating each other, lies, accepting the lies, that it's better for us to start applying what we can learn to our survival, to the human needs, the environment, new energy sources. And we're going to get all that from the cosmos cultures.
Well, I'm hoping they give me some. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. Matter of fact, for the listening audience, if you really want to understand more about the actual picture of this and how worldwide this is, there's a gentleman named Larry Hatch. You can go to his database. Just type in Larry Hatch UFO and his database will come up. It documents every sighting on the planet from 1944 until present day. And not only that, you can actually overlap the sightings and see as cities and areas grow how many more sightings there are in particular places. By around 1980, the United States is completely covered. When you get to 2005, you can't even see any spaces on the United States. That's how many actual sightings are. But it's not just here. It's the worldwide thing, and you can watch. You can even see when you watch the sightings that they follow shipping routes, shipping lanes, because you can actually see the sightings along the lanes crossing between Europe and the United States, and the Pacific. It's a very interesting place to go hang out, and it's a really, really good database. And I was so happy to see you put it back up. And it really would drive the point home for anybody who really wants to see how worldwide this truly is. There's not a country on the planet that doesn't have sightings, not one. And as far as I know, even countries like Iran, who would have been quiet, are still having UFO sightings. So it's one of the things. Now, so we're going to, all right, now we got to go through a conference. I want to give everybody a good rundown of what we're doing. So Friday, everybody's getting together, hanging out.
Well, Friday is the meet and greet party of the ladies in red. And that's Friday. There's a cocktail party at the Holiday Inn Express. And right after that, James Carman, who was my cameraman, by the way, in Canada when I did the Paul Hallier interview, he is the producer of the documentary called The Hidden Hand, which won the EB Award at the International UFO Congress last year. And he's going to screen that, and that is about contact, The Hidden Hand. And we'll watch that movie that night. The next morning, it'll start bright and early at 9 o'clock with our speakers, and Carol will be one of the first speakers. And, Dr. Lynn Katai, and then in the afternoon there'll be the Stephenville panel with the men witnesses and the MUFON representative with Angela Joyner. And then on Sunday, it's a half a day, and we start with the contact scenario, and Lisa will be our big star then. And she will show, actually, Lisa, I'm glad you mentioned that you have pictures and video and so forth, because people need to see, and she will show, incidences of her life and talk about her book.
Paola, will you talk about where it is, the city, how the distance from Dallas?
Well, people are asking me, you have to fly into Dallas-Fort Worth. It's 1 hour away, and people can get together and carpool. And it's 1 hour from Dallas and Fort Worth. It's a place called Glen Rose, Texas. They can go to the website www.starworksusa.com, and all the information, including the hotels, and all the schedule and everything is on there in Starworks USA. And so, it's just an hour away. But it is, Steve Allen was telling me the UFO sighting was really between Stephenville and Glen Rose. So it was on a ranch in between those two cities. So it's a small town, but it's a wonderful town. I've been there, and looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, I think we all are. We're going to have a great time, but it really is wonderful to hear what you're doing there, because I feel people are going to get a very quick, intensive education that's based on a very grounded reality, on a lot of truth, and with a positive vision, an update on what's going on from their local level to a global level up to the universal level, like Joe's been covering on a show forever. And with these speakers, it's just a fabulous group that you put together. Very unusual conference. I really hope a lot of people come.
And guys, I'm still going back to this ladies in red and alcohol thing. I'm sorry I haven't got past that part yet. I'm still on that one.
We have to have we have to have, it's an open bar, I mean, but it is, every single conference has meet and greet. So,
you got to have it. You really do.
Meet and greet, you meet and greet, but everybody's dressed in the same color. So, it'd be fun.
You know, Werner von Braun, when I first met him in 1974, was dying of cancer. And he was giving me the assignment to keep weapons out of space and all that. But what he said to me that was so interesting, he was scribbling on a little piece of paper on a desk, these little circles, while he was talking to me for a couple of hours. And at the end, he handed the paper, and suddenly it comes to me that we've reached this point. And the word in little circles was humor. And when he handed this scrap of paper to me, he said, there's going to be a time when you have to maintain a huge sense of humor because everything is going to actually be so serious. So thanks for this fun added into it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So, Joe, do you have your cowboy outfit ready?
Yep, I'll be ready to come down. It's, and I look good in boots and a hat, I have to tell y'all. So I'm not even bashful about it. I like Texas anyway. I got a lot of friends in Texas. It's a good place for me to come hang out and visit. So, and on my way up, you know, it's like I said, it's a pretty straightforward drive for us. If Yahoo says it'll take 9 hours, it means I'll get there in about 7. So it's a nice, easy drive, all interstate pretty much. Yeah, it looks like we're going to go. I mean, I was talking with Paula. She said the 19th, 20th, and 21st, right?
No, it's the 18th, 19th, and 20th. 18th. I just sent Linda 2 posters to put on your website so that you can see it, you know, with all the people on there. And Lisa, you're bringing Stan, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Oh, great.
So he's going to be there.
Come meet, you know, if nothing else, come hang out in the audience with Stan.
Yeah.
Let us girls do our thing.
Yeah, and when you're with Stan, you never know what's going to happen.
we can hear Stan anytime. I'm coming here, Lisa. I just call Stan pretty much a shot. Because in her case, and this is something, you know, I ask a lot of contactee spouses. For the ones that aren't both contactees, I do ask them, you know, how do you cope with your husband or your wife being a contactee? How do you deal with it on a daily basis? First off, do you think he lost his mind, you know? Is it something that you think you can handle? And I ask people, do you think you can be able to handle this long term? Because contact, you know, it's not that it gets better or anything, but sometimes it gets frequent and it gets a little chaotic and it can really put a stress on a relationship. So, you know, I was going to ask Lisa right after that, I mean, how do you deal with it?
You write a book. No.
I like that. That was a good answer, by the way.
You put it all in a book. Well, before I answer that, I have a question. So, how do you define a ufologist?
Well, for me, ufologist is a study of ufology, which is UFOs and lights in the skies. Abduction research is an entire find out in this field. If you would talk to me or Dow Sims, Javon Smith, any of the major abduction researchers in the field, we actually agree about 80% of the time on what's going on in the research and the data and stuff. Ufologists are a much different breed. They're tracking lights in the sky. They're dealing with government conspiracies and things along those lines. And they really and they argue a lot amongst each other. I mean, a lot. And which is not really that bad of a thing. I mean, they do need to keep it separated and try to, you know, who's telling the truth, who's not. I mean, there have been deceptions in the field over the years, so they do need to do that. But abduction research and the contactee research is a much different field. First off, we're dealing with people's emotional states, how they feel, what they're up to. They have lives that we're helping people learn how to take contact and put it into their life, make it part of who and what they are, not to fight it or to deny it or to hide it, to accept it for what it is, incorporate it in your life, and go on with your life instead of, you know, because a lot of them get really messed up over this. They get alcohol or drug problems, things like that, other addiction problems. So it's good. I mean, that's really what we do. We just help people get through the initial awakening and help them to understand they're not alone, and you can use this to your advantage. You can do delight. So that's why I'm always curious when I meet somebody who's not a contactee, who has a spouse that is, because I know it's a little bit on the weird side.
Okay. So I am a contactee who is married to a contactee.
Okay. See, that's what I wanted to know.
But I wasn't a contactee until after I married Stan. And the strange thing is, in a way, this, I don't know about all spouses, but it became my responsibility to be the ufologist, the person who documented, who tried to find a reasonable explanation for everything, took the photographs, took the samples. You know, I had Nancy Talbot, MUFON investigator also, who was telling me how to do these things properly via the phone so that I could send them what they needed. So, you know, it wasn't only dealing with Stan coming back in his underwear, being outside, getting him in, calming him down, you know, and making sure he was okay emotionally, physically, but it was, you know, documenting all that. And it in the beginning, it was terrifying. It was frustrating. And in my book, I don't hold back. I tell how it was. All the anger, the, you know, the sadness, the everything that happened. And it's just, I felt it was important to write it for other people in my position to understand that this is just the way it is. You learn to get past all those emotions and past all the fear so that you can just do what you have to do. And I use humor to get past everything.
That's great.
Cool.
What do you say? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, along the lines of what you're saying, what would you say to people who say, well, maybe we should modify how we should say it, and that there's a likelihood that we're not alone in the universe, or we should investigate it, when in fact you know it's true? Do you have that happen to you? Do people say things like that to you guys?
Quite often. It's not and I tell them it's not a question of if they are real. It's not a question of if it was a UFO. It's I know what I've seen. I know what I've experienced. There is no question of if anymore. This is real. This is happening, and you can't be afraid of it.
That's great. That's exactly how the treaty was written by these 5 men included. And I still, once in a while, get letters from someone. I just did from someone who produced a documentary on crop circles. It said just that maybe we should say that we might not be alone in the universe. And I'm going, oh, my God. You know, one of the great things about what we're doing here is confirming. There are enough people, don't you think, that confirm the reality. And your book is going to be very important to that.
And there's some new data out there that helps.
Yeah.
Well, all the contactees that come forward always make a difference. They're either making a difference to themselves or other contactees that are out there looking for someone to listen to find out that they're not alone. So they're always making a difference. But now, you know, with the new particle traveling faster than light, it's the second time now they've produced something to go faster than the speed of light, which means Einstein's theory was wrong and you can travel faster than the speed of light. Also, they upgraded the universe, the galaxy from 100 billion to 200 billion stars and 2 trillion plus planets. So now, and science isn't saying when you find, if there's life, they're saying how much life is there. You know, even science today has to agree that, you know, more and more scientists are actually becoming, you know, I was watching NASA the other day about the new rover they're sending to Mars. It wasn't about to them. They know they're going to find life. They have no doubt they're going to find life on Mars. They know they're going to find life on several bodies in our solar system. And like the scientist says, it's just a matter of time till we run into someone like ourselves or more advanced or less advanced. He said, but sooner or later we're going to, because there's too many planets, and there's going to be, they're saying now that life is going to be the norm, because since they found planets around the double stars, they're saying that all stars are going to have planets, whether we can see them or not. They're pretty sure that most stars will have planets now. And it just increases the Drake equation numbers significantly. It puts a lot more intelligent life out there.
Joe, they're still thinking it's one-cell creature. And you know, whether it's SETI with Drake, and by the way, I think Drake really does know. I met Frank Drake in Italy, and I think he does know. But, you know, you can't live with a one-cell creature. It's not a one-cell creature or an amoeba that's flying those craft. It's like, you know, you're looking for a radio telescope, through a radio telescope, for some kind of, you know, message when the beings are walking around or coming through the walls or already here, to me seems very strange. We're taking it one step at a time with NASA, but because I think somebody's managing the material and they want to prepare humanity, and I think that the real secret is really the technology. I don't even think it's the aliens. I think everybody can handle aliens. I think what they can handle is that these things are not flying around with gas and oil, and they're flying around with the technology that could possibly save this planet, and the whole economy would go down the tubes if we were to admit that we can travel into deep space, that we do have the means to replace fossil fuels, and the whole back engineering argument that very few of my colleagues want to touch. I think that's the secret behind UFOs. I don't even think it's aliens.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, a lot of stuff that people think are aliens is definitely government. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
No, Carol, I don't know. The thing is, over the years, 30 years is a long time, I've found out that people could probably handle diverse cultures. What they can't handle is that we are in a very primitive state, that we're still fighting each other over petroleum, gas, and oil. And my life with Colonel Corso, with his back engineering, his having been part of the research and development at the Pentagon, and having had the Roswell artifacts, and the Air Force officially still says mogul balloon with test dummies. Roswell did happen. So did my newest story, 1945 case in Socorro, New Mexico, did happen. And if there's a military presence there, they're not going to throw the UFO in the trash. I mean, that would be stupid. Why would you pick up something advanced and throw it in the garbage? So as far as 1945, 60 years ago, somebody has the technology that I think that probably will have to be released in the near future, because we're going to run out of energy sources. And when that happens, maybe that will open the door to the UFO question.
I just talked with Tom Bearden about a month ago, an energy expert of the highest and former intelligence too, and he said, of course, there is free energy. It's being hidden. The mafia owns it, blah, blah, blah. What amazes me about what all of you are saying, all of us are saying, is that there are still people out there that say, well, there's no evidence. No evidence. There's no proof that they exist. Where's the gun? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think some people just don't. I've talked to enough people now, especially just everyday people, when we're doing like polls or interviews like that. And when you're talking to just people like at the mall or on the street and stuff, most people don't want to think that there's extraterrestrials out there. Too much Hollywood, too much scary stuff. And even when you're telling them this isn't about conquering the planet or wiping out the planet, if they wanted to do that, they'd have done that 10,000 years ago. Even when you tell them that, there's still a certain amount of fear there. So that's something that we're going to have to work on. I guess something the field can work on. Helping people to understand and the general population and know just because aliens here doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And in fact, it could be the start of the golden age, like the Mayans say. If we would have alien contact in December, full-blown contact, where they came down the planet and said, hey, guys, we're here, let us help you out with some energy and stuff like that, well, yeah, that would be the end of life as we know it and the start of the golden age, because we would no longer be alone in the universe and we would have advanced technology. So it would actually fit the Mayans saying. That's about the only thing I've seen that really would fit it. So I'm hoping, I'm optimistic. But
yeah, but they would have to make a direct intervention. I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah, I don't think that would be. There is a prime directive, just like in Star Trek, and until we ask for help, we're not going to get it. And unfortunately, that's pretty sad, because I think we need help. It's like we all need help, and I understand what you're saying. I think that, there's a lot of good things, though, Joe. When Jeff Peckman was able to put the ballot initiative in Denver, the last year, when 32,000 people voted yes to an extraterrestrial commission out of 72, I think we made a big step for mankind.
Oh, yeah,
thank God for Jeff Peckman. He did it politically, and people did press the yes button, so we got that. And there's a lot of people really working towards this issue to make it real, to make it something that will benefit the planet. But I think there's a timing to it, and I'm hoping the timing is soon, because I think we're running out of time.
And that's, again, not to sound so one-track, but I am at the moment, why we have got to ban space-based weapons so that they don't escalate, expand that weapons and war mentality, the fear mentality, into that place above our heads, which is an unlimited place and surrounds all of us. So I think that's where the pivotal point is. I don't even like to fly in planes, so to have had an experience and be a contactee and then work for a treaty to ban weapons from space is so far outside of my own box here, but that is one of the pivotal moments, and it completely connects with all of these great stories and the new ones like Lisa's coming out in the books that Paula's written in your show that talk about and actually present the reality of this issue. I think, Paula, the timing is right now. I don't think we have any time to wait. We're really running out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because just look around you. I think that it's time, and it's kind of exciting to be alive in this period of time.
Definitely. And to wear red at the conference.
Yeah, here we go with the red again. I can see this red thing's going to give me a trouble. I can see this coming.
My hat has glitter on.
Okay, here we go. Okay, now, well, at least, hey, look, if you get tipsy, if your cheeks get all rosy, nobody will notice with all that red on. Okay, I'm behaving. We'll behave now. It's, well, and that's another thing, too, because I figure, because like Paula just said, ET really isn't going to probably intervene on our behalf, and if we do start pointing weapons at each other, they may let us wipe each other out. For two reasons. One, if there's anybody left, I mean, to clean up, and two, I imagine they have the technology to clean up the planet quite easily. So I don't think it would be a big deal for them. So if we wipe out 5 billion, they might actually be happier. So I tell people all the time, and I tell this to people, some people always say we're going to kill Earth. Well, no matter what happens here, ladies and gentlemen, the Earth will survive. We may not, but it will. Something y'all need to keep in remembrance when y'all are talking about, oh, we're destroying the Earth. No, we're destroying ourselves. Once we're gone, the Earth will replenish itself and go right on its merry way and create a whole new species, just like it has 3 other times.
You're right, Joe. You got it. I mean, that's very interesting that you should say that. You're right on there. I think that's true.
Yeah, so it's preserve ourselves and learn that we're not alone. And I think the sooner we realize, and you know, Paul, I do think a lot more people in the government these days, a lot more people in the military realize that we're not alone. I just don't think they quite have a grasp on it yet. I don't think UT shares as much as our conspiracy friends would like to make everybody think they do. I think they're a lot more, look, guys, we're here, we're doing this, stay out of our way. Occasionally, y'all might, come see, visit or something, but stay out of our way. Because, frankly, the technologies are just too incompatible with ours at this time. So they come give us something, I'll be happy, because, frankly, electric bills are getting ridiculous, especially when you run a radio station. So I want something. I'm ready for something to come out here, and I know for a fact that there are alternative fuels out there and alternative energies we could be using. And I just don't understand why. And then this doesn't even alien stuff. There's stuff out there we could be using now that, frankly, the governments just don't seem to want to bother with. And I don't understand why.
They can't bother with it because it has to do with money. And the bottom line of any conspiracy or anything is money. When you have huge amounts of money being made with fossil fuels, I mean, I hate to go to a sore point of what happened in the Gulf with the Gulf, stuff.
Yeah.
But aren't people getting a clue? I feel like saying, get a clue. This has happened over and over again. Even though I've heard, people do and say, that's our jobs, that's our livelihood and so forth. I can understand that. But there's got to be a time where we turn the page there because it not only with the nuclear problem with the plant in Japan, but with oil spills, with things that are happening that are just turning upside down the whole ecology of the planet, we got to get a clue. I mean, I think that we should be waking up to something.
And, we are getting a lot of clues. Just from living in the space station, we've learned a lot about what it's like to live in zero gravity and how that helps people with bone diseases and arthritis because they don't have any air pressure on their body. You can go up for treatments. And there are people planning for tourism to go live and work and have vacations in space right now. So we've learned a lot about one thing that's very interesting to me, really healing. We have got to heal our bodies. We're being toxically poisoned constantly. And now with genetically modified foods, we're going to actually change how we look. And if we eat an animal that's been genetically processed like this way, we're going to turn into that too. So what we're learning is we've got to get back to nature, to the indigenous, natural, universal laws and principles. And I think that that's happening because of the studies of how people are living and working in outer space. Most people don't know about that yet, but there's so much to learn, not just observing the Earth and the environment, but I think there's a frequency that the cosmos cultures obviously are functioning on, or they wouldn't be able to get here from these huge distances. We have no idea how to do that yet. But there's a frequency that I have a feeling when we learn it, they'll be able to kind of press a telepathic button and clean up the radiation, clean up the pollution. This is a planet that's 2/3 water, and most of it is now so polluted we can hardly live on the planet just because of the water and the pollutions in the land itself that's happening. So I think we're on the verge of a huge healing process that's going to take place in our physical bodies and our emotional, psychological as well, and of an environmental transformation that has got to take place rather quickly, because the earth changes that those of us paying attention to it, learning about, are putting us into a critical situation. But we have the mass that Bucky Fuller used to talk about, 1% of the public waking up, and he said that that's all we need to shift consciousness. It's literally about getting into a higher frequency, and a show like Joe's that's functioning in a higher frequency is helping to spread that and fill the airways with a different energy. So I actually have a little hope in the middle of a lot of the depression that I fall into occasionally.
I'm hoping that we are moving in the right direction. I mean, it does look better and better. And I got to say, when I first got involved with this field 30 years ago, there was a lot more crazy conspiracy stuff and a lot less information. There's a lot more information now and a lot more understanding. Still, I mean, we got years to go, but it's still, I mean, if you really want to get involved in this field, there's lots of ways to help out. And there's lots of places to work, and there's lots of research to be done. I mean, there's just lots of it to be done. And there's lots of people that still need to be interviewed and new people coming in the field every day. That's another problem I think we got, too. It's hard. And I know this from personal experience. It's hard to get into this field. It really is. It's tough.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, because I have a lot of contactees that'll call me or write to me. And even people who have had other types of experience will call or write to me and say, I've been trying to get in contact with this one or that one or this one or that one, and nobody returns my calls, nobody talks to me. And what they don't understand is it's usually not anything personal. It's just usually because most of the people in the field are busy. I tell people up front, if you want me to contact you, you're going to send me an email, expect 3 to 4 weeks before you get a response from me, because that's how much email I keep ahead of myself basis. And I tell the same thing with people who contact me on many other venues I'm on, like the 6 Facebook accounts we have and MySpace accounts. I mean, we're easily accessible, but it does take time because we are talking to a lot of people these days. And it just seems a lot of people say that they have just a hard time getting involved. And, MUFON only does certain stuff. We only do certain stuff. And it just seems like people are falling between the cracks. And I would, especially younger people. And I just want to see the field itself figure out a way to correct that. Get more of them involved. Because I'm getting to be an old guy.
So I can see what you're saying, but I also see the solution is education. I mean, basically, I am praying that some university takes this on in the social studies department. If some university would take on this kind of dialogue in the social studies department, you get all the students there. You get people from the outside wanting to talk about it. The minute that we open this up to a serious educational field where they can have dialogue, where they can have conferences, where they can sit and talk to each other, where they could read books, where they could write research papers, where they could do it like we do with everything else we do for education, the minute that happens, you'll get the right people there. You'll get the right people to come in, the hypnotherapists, the people are interested. And a lot of people that are hypnotherapists weren't dealing with alien abductions. Look at John Mack. I mean, he was a psychiatrist, and all at once he went there. So, I mean, we have Naropa Institute here in Boulder, and we did a lot of lecturing here. We had a lot of guests. We had Lynn Katai. We had actually Stan talk, and they have a degree in transpersonal psychology. If we could get into these kinds of fields, then it won't just be what you call the ufologists or the contactee people. It'll be, the general public or the university itself that'll handle some of this, and it would be great to make it legitimate.
And then these young people can take over and replace these leaders that really are keeping all this from us, which is just ridiculous and dangerous.
Well, Stanton probably gets to speak at the most colleges out of anybody I know, but college just needs to take it on and put it in the curriculum. I know of a couple of the idea because I've heard them talk about it, but I just haven't seen anybody really do it. Even though you can go to college and get a paranormal degree, it amazes me how hard this is sometimes. It really is, because now they do have, you can go to college, they got ghost school, they got a couple of them that are doing paranormal stuff, but yet they seem to leave ufology or UFO research out in the cold. I just don't get it. There's way more evidence, there's way more credible witnesses. And I'm not even talking about the contact. I mean, just simply the amount of astronauts that have come forward should be enough for anybody to go, what the hell is going on?
And military experts and the Disclosure Project experts and all these books that Paola's written, like she says, hasn't even changed a word, edited those interviews. But, it's the Military Industrial Lab University, NASA and other international space agencies, intelligence community, governments complex. You can't really identify a cabal anymore. It's also interrelated, and like we were saying, it's all based on money and the foundation. So we have to start showing people that there's a different form of wealth, and part of it is our survival.
No, we got to definitely get on the ball here. Oh, I know we're getting kind of short on time, so y'all be sure, dates, times, websites, everybody.
Okay, I'll talk about the conference and my website, and then everybody else should mention theirs too. The conference website is www.starworksusa.com, and there's a registration blank. Early bird registration is $75 because after April 1st it'll be $90, so people should register right away, and they'll get their materials. And my personal website that has all my stories in it, my latest work, my stories, and the fact that I do teach online classes in exopolitics for Dr. Sala's Exopolitics Institute. I'm teaching a class called Quantum Cosmology right now. You could go on my website. It's www.paolaharris.com.
And would you talk about the town again, how people get to the conference?
Glen Rose, they'd have to fly into Dallas-Fort Worth. And then Dallas-Fort Worth, it's 1 hour to Glen Rose.
And then where is it in Glen Rose?
It's at the Somerville Expo at Glen Rose. It's on the website. All of the details in detail is all on the website.
Great. Lisa?
And register early by April 1st if you want to get the early registration rate. Otherwise, it's going to be more expensive after April 1st.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I was just telling people.
Sorry. You know how it is with us women.
No. Y'all go ahead. I was just going to tell everybody to get out there and check the websites, but go ahead.
Yeah, but also Lisa has a book that's on Amazon on the other side of the bed. I don't know if she has a website yet.
Not yet, but you can go to www.stanromanek.com. You can find me on Facebook, and I will have a website. And my book is also in Barnes & Nobles now, and it is in Kindle on Amazon now. Yay!
Very cool.
Yeah, we have you. Yeah, Lisa, we have your book linked straight to the site. All you do is click on a book, it takes it right to where the book's for sale. And I think your actual picture on the site takes it right to Stan's site as well. So those should be linked. And I'll be at there Tuesday. Same for Carol and Paul. You can just click on Paula's face, it'll take it right to the site. You can click on Carol's, it'll take it right there. Usually the websites are on the bottom of the bios anyway, so you can find them there as well. Really, it'll be up there for the UFO conference, for the symposium. I'm sorry, I don't get in trouble here. Just click on the banners. There's 2 banners there. There's actually 2 separate banners. Each one takes you to a different page, but just click on the banners. It'll take you right to the site. You can go check out all the guests and all the speakers, what times, how much it's going to cost, the whole 9 yards. It's right there. Really easy, one-click shopping. Those will stay up on the UFO Undercover site till Tuesday afternoon because we change our things every Tuesday afternoon. And then Paula's already sent me the posters, so they'll be up on the Paranormal and Icon site, so y'all can just put the link straight from there as well. And as soon as I get everything straight with Linda, we'll post where we're going to be and how we're going and all that stuff for y'all up there as well. So, guys, go attend, check it out. And when I say guys, I don't mean men, I mean everybody. Go check it out. Well, I've been talking about the red in the alcohol, so no telling who'll show up now. we might get like
a party. It's a Texas party. So
that's what I was wondering about. We might get one of the men's clubs show up.
I'm really glad you have it. I'm really glad you're gonna post this, all of it on your site, and we're gonna have it all posted on peaceandspace.com too, just to let you know.
Yeah, because we'll come down that way. We can do some interviews down there and do some live broadcasting while we're there as well. Like I said, I always love to do live stuff. It's just so great, and it's so much easier now with the new equipment and Skype and all this other wonderful stuff. So, really, as long as you have an internet connection, you can do a broadcast anywhere now. So it's kind of nice. And even my phone is even set up to act as a modem or as a network if I needed to. So that's kind of nice too. So I'm looking forward to seeing down there along with everybody else because, Yvonne's one of my favorite researchers in the field, and I like to harass her any chance I get.
Well, Yvonne won't be there because Yvonne has prior commitment, so she will be, she will be at McMinnville. So we'll see.
Oh, okay.
She's going to McMinnville.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to get on to her. So she needs to come to y'all. If the other commitment can wait, I'm going to call her. I'll ask her.
No, we'll get Yvonne the next time around. I promise Yvonne the next time around we're going to get her.
I love to harass people in the field, so I get paid to do. Well, just the other day somebody told me I was in charge of all the military abductions in the United States. I can't get past laughing over that. I just do y'all realize
You know about the book Paula's edited just now with Clifford Stone, right?
Yeah, Clifford Stone's book just came out. It's called Eyes Only, the Clifford Stone Story. And we will be at the International UFO Congress in Phoenix, Arizona, February 21st and 22nd and so forth. We will be there. Clifford Stone will be there in person to sign the book. But he talks about his crash retrieval experiences with live and dead aliens, and the basically interaction with these beings, which he says was very beneficial.
Well, I can see that. I can actually see that as being beneficial. Actually, we're trying to go to Phoenix or to Arizona this year, so I don't know if we're going to or not, but we're going to try. For us, it's a rough time because it's Mardi Gras here.
Okay. Well, you're partying already. You're partying.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to compete with Mardi Gras. I hate to say it. It's just, they're like, you're going to come down to conferences. I said, yeah, I would love to. I said, but it's Mardi Gras. Yeah, I don't know.
I have an idea, Joe. You should have a conference there during Mardi Gras time so we can
actually. While we're on this subject, my sister works for the Marriott. She's a bigwig with him, and she was just in town for Thanksgiving. So we're going to probably set one up in Atlanta this year. It's looking really, really good. It's going to probably be summer, maybe right early fall, but it's looking good. Actually, your name is actually on the list. Actually, several of y'all's names are on the list, along with, I think there's 25 speakers in the UFO abduction and so on fields related that we're talking about. And we've been requested by, since I own the Paranormal Radio Network, to have one paranormal day, so we might bring in an additional 8 or 9 speakers out there on paranormal as well. So it's looking really good. It's the first time that we're going to be able to do it, and there's going to be quite a few contactees there and people in the field, but there's several names I just want there for other reasons that I'm not going to get into on the air, but I just want them there. And it should be a great conference. It really should. If we can get everybody we want to and get what we want, it should be just phenomenal. And, I've been getting a lot of pressure over the years to finally do one, just like writing a book, which ain't never going to happen. Lisa, by the way, congrats, because I've been trying to write a book every time I sit down and I type paragraph. My problem is my brain works way too fast in my fingers. And even when I talk it and put it on tape and come back, I don't know. It's going to make me nuts is what it's going to do. Anyway, enough about all of that. Ladies, y'all were fantastic night having y'all on. It was just great. I'll be looking forward to seeing all three of you down there along with everybody else. It should be a really fun conference. I'm with Paul on the fact that these conferences should be a little bit more strict on their formats and a little less glamorous. I guess that's a bad word, but a little less sparkly. I don't know.
A little less chintzy, and I don't know what to say. Carnival-like.
Yeah, carnival. That's actually good. No, that's a good description because Several it's why I don't go to. I quit going to several conferences because, frankly, it's a waste of my time. Because if you're a groupie, it's fine. Or if you're going to see your friends, it's fine too. It's one of the other reasons I like to go to conferences to catch up with friends. But as far as the general population coming in, no, they're going to come in and they're going to think it's goofy and they're going to leave and they're not going to ever come back. They're going to be like, well, yeah, see, I told you they were nuts in the first place, and that's what they're going to be, and they're going to move on. And I think that kind of stuff really hurts us. But that's just my opinion. I don't want to get anybody in trouble with that.
No, to each his own. I mean, there's different places where they do that. Yeah, they have parades and so forth. And I think that's okay. But I think that's fine for that kind of situation. But we're educators, or I'm a teacher. I mean, I'm an educator, and I'd rather do the educational thing than the carnival thing. Plus, I wonder what the aliens think of us. I'm thinking if they're looking down and watching this, it's like, what do they think?
They gotta love the Roswell parades. I gotta say that.
I think they probably enjoy Roswell parade.
I did have a good time last time I was there. I think it was for the 60th anniversary. I was there last. I had a great time.
Well,
I really did.
I always have a great time there.
I just want them to land, and I hear people are making some landing pads already around the world. So I think we need to ban space weapons, get everybody educated, and then go celebrate on the front lines. When they land.
Who is it working on the spaceport? Paul Davis and I forgot his name. These guys got the money to pull this off.
You're talking about Branson and Rutan, who are doing the spaceport in New Mexico.
Maybe I'm getting them confused. Branson is the owner of Virgin everything, Virgin Records, Virgin Airlines, the whole nine.
Virgin Airlines, and they already have that underway. And the tickets to go to space are $250,000, and I think they've sold about 150 of them. So, I mean, the minute that the civilians go into outer space, they can't keep a secret. They'll see UFOs.
Oh, for sure.
Well, because every time you see somebody going up there, you're watching footage. I cannot tell you how much footage I've seen before NASA went through the 7-second delay that there's something flying around up there. And there's lots of it. And there's still a lot of it available. I mean, I know they've been trying to clean it up off the Internet, and I think that's one of the reasons they want HIPAA and PAPA and whatever, to make it a little easier to clean some of this stuff up. But there's a lot of it out there to be had. I mean, we've all made video libraries that we keep for ourselves now, just so somebody's got copies, but STS-41, STS-44, STS-92, 93. Can't tell you how many Apollo and Mercury and Gemini missions to where there was stuff either videotaped or photographed. It just seems to be that what I don't understand, all this evidence, there's a lot of it now. Between the videotapes, the eyewitnesses, the airplane pilots, the astronauts, the politicians, I still don't understand why mainstream media just won't grab it. That's like why when they won't talk about a candidate, they just don't want any part of it. Every now and then you'll see CNN or Fox do something, but it's always point counterpoint. It's never let them talk about what's going on and what they found. It's always, you'll hear the researchers or the ufologists or the abductees talk, and then you'll have some debunkers or something come in afterwards. And people always remember the last thing they heard, so I don't know, maybe. But I do have faith. I really do have faith. And y'all doing this down here adds a little bit more faith. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank all three of y'all again, Lisa, Carol, Paula.
Thank you all, too.
I had a great time. Y'all are always welcome to the show anytime you want. Lisa, when you're ready and you want to come talk, just you and I, let me know, and I'll get Linda to put you on. And when you're ready to get out there and talk, because I know some people like to come out and talk about stuff that happened to them, and some people are like, no. Because we got a lot of contactees who give us information all the time but do not want to go public. They're like, no. Sorry, Joe, I love you, but we ain't going public, buddy. But anyway, we're going to get out of here. Thanks again, ladies. Y'all were fantastic. Enjoy your lives. Have some fun. Attend the symposium, okay? If you're going out to Phoenix this year for the Congress, let me know. Send me a letter. Because if I don't go, I'm looking for some people to do a little work there while they're there. Also, Texas, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Guys, come on down. Check out the Women's Symposium. It should be a great thing to have. May, yeah. And come down and check it out. We'll be talking about it more over the next few weeks, or actually the next 3 months, I believe. So we'll keep it fresh in y'all's minds. It'll also be posted on the site, so it's easy for everybody to find. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here for this evening, so thank everyone for listening. Have a smile. Enjoy your lives. See y'all next Wednesday.